Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's council meeting, Monday, the 23rd of March. If we could please stand for the acknowledgement of country, diversity, commitment, service acknowledgement, and prayer. Please stand if you're able. The City of Victor Harbor acknowledges the Ramangeri and the Narrangeri people, the traditional custodians of the land and surrounding waters where we live and where we work. We acknowledge their deep connection to country and we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. This respect is extended to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people across Australia. Someone like to say the diversity commitment? Thank you, Angela.
The City of Victor Harbor is committed to diversity, equity and inclusion. We respect people of all ages, abilities, genders, sexualities, religions, beliefs, cultures and backgrounds.
Thank you. Service acknowledgement. Thank you, Stuart.
We acknowledge the brave individuals who have served and continue to serve our nation. We remember those who lost their lives and paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country.
Thank you. David.
Almighty God, we ask you to bless this council and allow it to be an agent of change to the people of this city and beyond. Direct and prosper in deliberations to the honouring of your name and the welfare of the people who it serves. Amen.
Please be seated. We have two apologies tonight, Councillor McKenzie and Councillor Karemba, who's on leave of absence. We go to item 4.1. We have items adjourned on the table. The recommendation is related to the deed of variation of the lease for the Encounter Bay Netball Club. However, they didn't get the grant, so we're not able to do that. There are two ways that we can do this. We can put the motion, which was moved by Councillor Schiller and seconded by Michael Quinton. And if that motion is lost, we leave it, or the mover and seconder can withdraw the motion. They didn't get the grant. We have got it back in the 26-27 budget and will apply for the grant again next year. So this will come up next year again if they do get the grant. So we do have a current motion before council.
I'm happy to withdraw.
You're happy to withdraw, Councillor Schiller. Are you happy to withdraw, Councillor Quinton? Nobody else is wanting to move or second that? In that case, that motion has lapsed. We now move to 5.1, which are the minutes of the previous meeting, being that of the 23rd of February, and the minutes recommendation is the minutes be confirmed as true and correct. Moving that way, Councillor Henderson, thank you. And seconding that, please. Thank you, Councillor Kemp. Does anybody have any questions about those minutes? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. We have one deputation tonight, and that being relating to the sealing of Day Road and Colebatch Road, and that is John, Edward and Clive Mumford. If you're there, there's two chairs. You might want to get another chair if the three of you are going to be speaking. You only have 10 minutes, which includes questions. Are you the Mumfords here? Yep, if you'd like to come up. David, can you please show them where to sit and how to turn the microphones on?
See the red light coming on.
Thank you. Is there, do we need a third chair? No? All right. You do have 10 minutes, which includes question time, and then I will go to item 18.4, which relates to the issues that you are talking about tonight. So if you would like to start, that would be great.
So, thank you, Mayor, councillors, CEO and visitors. I'll just start with my background, which is just a short sentence. Just having originally settled in Victor Harbor with my family in 1990, I now live at Colebatch Road, just a short distance to downtown Victor Harbor, so we're not really rural. So I've got the benefit of looking back to 1990, comparing that area with now, or Victor Harbor with now, so I can benefit the growth and vitality of Victor Harbor, which is relevant. So I thank you for the opportunity to address the meeting on behalf of the residents from the precincts of Colebatch and Day Roads. I'd like the meeting to acknowledge the large group behind me that is here to support the motion. And if we could show of hands, thank you very much. So I have here the recent request letter that was co-signed by owner residents, 3 pages, some 29 signatures, which is impressive, showing unanimous support to bring forward the year of sealing these roads to 26-27. So it's a very enthusiastic response, I think you will agree. So there's a long history of applications for this project. The residents of Day Road, Chris and Paul, they're here tonight actually, made application to council to proceed with this project in 2002. Submissions have been made by other residents from Colebatch Road, engaging with council during this 24-year time lapse. So why has it come to be a priority now and an urgency for sealing these roads? So councillors, it's all about change and growth. Multiple increase in population, increase in traffic density, both local and visiting, increase in building works, increase in development, unsustainable road surfaces giving rise to increased health and safety issues. So when we talk about development, in the last 8 years or so, council has approved multiple subdivisions in Colebatch, followed by a large-scale residential development, which is almost completed. There remain several vacant titles for further home construction. Land on the eastern border of Day Road is also in line for future development. In that time space, rapidly rising land and property values and state value applications for these 2 precincts has provided council with considerably increased revenue to assist in covering the cost of appropriate roadworks in those 2 areas. Talk about condition. The condition of the 300-metre Colebatch Road is not up to the task of servicing this development approved and presents health and safety issues, as mentioned. If we are to look at an option to sealing both roads in 26-27 would be to seal the 300-metre Colebatch Road plus the 400-metre part Day Road between Colebatch and Fuller West in 26-27, followed by sealing the remaining 600-metre Day Road in the following year. To sum up, this community is very much a proactive group, investing in increasing property improvements and investing in being involved with the future of the city of Victor Harbor long term, and is deserving of an upgraded road system without further delay. I would bring to your attention the mix of ages of our community includes five young families. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from elected members? Councillor Kemp, and then...
I think John Edwards would like to speak as well.
Yep.
I beg your pardon. I thought you were speaking together. You still are within that 10 minutes?
Yeah, I've alerted your organisation that we're both speaking.
Thank you. Carry on.
Okay, good afternoon. I thank the Chamber for receiving our deputation today. Thank you, David and Clive. My family have lived at Colebatch Road since 1984, an ominous date for those who read books relating to that time. There are 3 households in the Day Road, Colebatch Road precinct. There were 6 residents and 5 cars. We now have 21 households and rising with currently 55 residents of mixed age and 50 cars. Day Road has an open 100-kilometre speed limit, with Colebatch Road only recently reduced to a 50-kilometre speed zone. So we experience a lot of road dust, and dust is our issue, along with health and road safety factors associated with it. The road dust that inundates us daily has both visual particles and invisible to the naked eye particles, as small as 2.5 microns. This human hair of mine is 25 microns. These particles are 1/10 the thickness of that. Can you see that? So we've got no hope of seeing 1/10 that size. The invisible dust is our particular health issue because it contains these 2.5 micron particles of silica, also known as silicon dioxide, and more commonly quartz. Silica particles are present in both bluestone PM220 road base on Day and Colebatch roads and limestone PM220 road base on Lower Fuller Road East. 2.5 micron silicon particles are implicated in increased severity of asthma symptoms, silicosis, and invisible lung scarring by embedded quartz fibres in the lungs. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease leading to heart attacks, with hearts straining to push blood into the lungs to reoxygenate. They get overworked. Renal damage and eye damage. We're all subject to these ill health potentials. However, it is the children, elderly, and respiratory compromised who are most at risk of developing lung cancer from these silica crystals. Households most at risk are Atkin, home 15 metres from Day Road. Curtis, home is on the corner of Colebatch Road and Day Road, about 15 metres. Mumford, home is 30 metres from Colebatch Road. Henschke, 30 metres from Colebatch Road. Edwards, home is 25 metres from Colebatch. A recent vacuum cleaning of my 2 rainwater tanks extracted 130 kilograms of silt. How did that get there? Road dust on our roofs was washed into our tanks by the rain. I have got filters that are considered probably the best that we can buy. They're PureTech Hybrid Series G.
You have 1 minute to go. Thank you.
Pardon?
You have 1 minute to go.
Okay. And I have a sample of clean commercial spring water and rainwater out of my tap half an hour ago. You see this is coloured, this isn't. That's through the best filters around. Anecdotal evidence, interest. I have witnessed 2 car rollovers on the corner of Day and Colebatch roads and spin outs due to the deep loose gravel. New tyres on a local car were shredded in 18 months. So the tyre specialist attributed the damage directly to driving on corrugated and stony Day and Colebatch roads. Cycling is not possible on Day Road. Yes, we have been extraordinarily patient and we hope that you see merit in our request, and we'll review the current program for sealing Day and Colebatch roads so that from 26-27 we will have healthy living conditions in our homes and safer roads. You councillors have the authority and the power to make the change. Please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have time for one question, and when we go to item 18.4, there may be further discussion in relation to this. But thank you very much, gentlemen. Do we have any question? You had your hand up, Councillor Quinton.
Just wanted to check that this is a council road and not a state road.
It is a council road.
Yeah. And I noted the speed reduction to 50 km an hour, only on Colebatch Road, but the rest of the road is 100, because that does seem very, very fast.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And by the way, the 50k reduction makes no difference to the amount of dust.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move to item 18.4. And the motion on notice from Councillor Kemp. And I do note that the design and construction of Day Road is in the budget papers that we are currently looking at anyway. So, but you can move your recommendation, Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. I move that the council amend the assessment management. I move that the council amend the assessment management plan to bring forward the design and construction of Colebatch Road and Day Road to allow for sealing works to occur in the 26-27 financial year. This request is based on several important factors: a long-standing commitment to residents, increasing traffic and from residential development, road safety concerns and public health risks caused by dust. This has been an ongoing issue by a number of residents of Day and Colebatch Roads who have been engaging with council on this issue since 2002. Over 2 decades later, the project continues to be deferred in successive asset management plans throughout this time. Residents have remained patient while waiting for the commitment to be fulfilled. Today, Colebatch Road serves around 15 ratepayer properties and Day Road serves about 6 properties, of whom have co-signed a request asking council to bring the sealing forward. In recent years, there's also been significant development along Colebatch Road, increasing traffic from residents, visitors, delivery drivers, tradespeople and service vehicles. This growing use is placing constant pressure on the unsealed road surface, particularly the 300 metres of Colebatch Road and the 400 metres of Day Road between Fleurieu West Road and Colebatch Road. The current road conditions are poor with noticeable rutting and corrugation. While grading provides short-term improvement, the surface quickly deteriorates again. Drivers often try to avoid the worst sections, which can create unsafe driving situations and increase the risk of accidents. There is also a significant public health concern. The dust generated from these unsealed roads affects nearby homes. Importantly, this area does not have access to mains water, meaning residents rely entirely on rainwater tanks for their drinking water. Reducing dust through the sealing the roads would therefore have direct health benefits for the community. The current asset management plan schedules these works separately over several future years. However, bringing both projects forward to the 26-27 financial year would allow them to be delivered together, with the estimated combined cost currently based on projections on the 2031 to 2034 period of approximately $547,000. Delivering the works together will provide economies of scale, avoid future cost escalations due to inflation, and address long-standing community concerns much sooner. Given the long history of requests, the increase in development and traffic, the deteriorating road conditions, and the health impacts caused by dust, there is a strong case for prioritising the sealing of these roads in the 26-27 financial year. Bringing this project forward would demonstrate Council's commitment to supporting its rural residents, improving road safety, protecting the health and wellbeing of local community.
Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Burns. Do you want to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm supporting Councillor Kemp's proposal for 2 reasons. One, I think the situation is quite unique, and therefore, because of the health issues and the road issues, should be moved to the 2006-2007 financial year, so it gets addressed sooner than later. The other reason I'm supporting Councillor Kemp's motion is the alternate motion potentially pushes out this being addressed for a further year or longer, and I think it's important enough to actually allow for the sealing work to be completed within the 2006-2007 financial year, not just planned and it may be 2007-8 or longer. I think it's important it gets addressed as soon as possible.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak to that? Councillor Quinton and then Councillor Schiller.
Just a question, mainly for Councillor Kemp. I know some people as well on Fleurieu West Road that have similar issues, and I'm not sure if that has come up in conversations you've had, but would there be scope to include Fleurieu West in the motion as well?
my understanding, and the gentleman that could answer this question as well, Fuller West Road is already sealed, but it's a narrow road, but it's not unsealed. So it's only the conditions from Day Road where it bitumised end at the corner of Fuller West Road, and then up to Colebatch and up to Highmarsh to Tears Road is all unsealed. It's about.
I'm actually talking about Fuller East Road, so ignore my question.
Councillor Schiller?
I'd like to adjourn it, take it to our next budget meeting so we can discuss it as a briefing session, and then potentially bring it back after our next budget session as to be brought back into the next council meeting after that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that adjournment? Thank you, Councillor Schofield. There's no debate on.
Sorry, that was a question I wanted to ask.
So we've just had somebody put in an adjournment motion. You were going to second that, Councillor Henderson. There's no debate on that. So all those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4. And those against? That's carried. Thank you. So that motion is adjourned until we have a briefing on it and after the next budget briefing. Thank you. 1st of April, so that'll be adjourned until after the 1st of April. We now move to questions from the gallery, and I have 2 questions from Peter Charles. Mr. Charles, if you'd like to come up and ask your questions.
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. The questions and the answers we put into the next lot of minutes of this meeting.
Our policy is to put all the questions and the answers into the minutes of the meeting, and that policy hasn't changed.
Indeed, just confirming it. Question 1. My question relates to the operation of Section 54(1)(d) of the Local Government Act 1999, which provides that a councillor's office may become vacant if the councillor has been absent from 3 or more consecutive ordinary meetings without the leave of council. The Act specifies that this determination must be made by the resolution of the council. Could the Mayor please confirm whether the City of Victor Harbor Council has formally considered and determined by resolution of council whether the circumstances described in 54(1)(d) have arisen in any relation to any councillor absences that have been previously discussed publicly? If such a determination has been made, could the Mayor please advise the date of the council meeting and the resolution number of that determination? Thank you.
No, the council hasn't made a determination regarding those circumstances.
That's brief. Thank you. My second question, excuse me, I've got AFib and I just don't get enough air in, so I'm stuttering a bit, but that'll be fixed in October, hopefully. My second question relates to the governance process. Under the Local Government Act 1999, the council itself is responsible for determining matters affecting the status. Elected members including those arising under Section 54. If a situation arises where a councillor has been absent for 3 or more consecutive ordinary meetings, it would appear necessary that for the matter to be brought before council so that council can determine whether a leave has been granted or whether provisions of Section 54 apply. Could the Mayor please clarify what processes the City of Victor Harbor has in place to ensure that the potential Section 54 matters are formally brought before council for determination by resolution?
As you've been told before, at the December council meeting, the process is a procedural matter governed by the council's Code of Practice for meeting procedures. As part of the annual review of the Code of Practice, administration has considered relevant provisions and talked to the councillors about that and has proposed some amendments to clarify that process. Those proposed amendments are included in tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much. Mayor Jenkins, Council Watch are thrilled that the city, our city's councillor, Councillor Corimba, has been elected to the Legislative
Mr. Charles, Mr. Charles, this is not
Mr. Charles.
Mr. Charles, this is not a debate.
No,
You've had your
this is
questions
not a debate,
answered.
this is a
Thank you
statement
very
of
much.
great joy
Thank you very much.
for the residents of Victor Harbor and ourselves.
Thank you very much. We have questions from Mr. Keith Klimpson. Mr. Klimpson, do you want to come up and ask your question?
Right, hello everyone. Thanks for letting me ask these two questions. My two questions involve ageism, and I'd better start by defining what ageism is. Ageism is defined as the stereotyping, prejudice and discrimination against individuals or groups based solely on their age. It involves negative, inaccurate stereotypes or thoughts, feelings of prejudice and unfair treatment affecting people of all ages, though it mostly impacts older adults. So my first question, has the council, oh, by the way, that definition was from the World Health Organization. It's not something I've made up. First question, has the council considered the decision to ask the Labour government to abolish stamp duty relief for downsizing and incoming seniors in Victor Harbor is ageist?
Council's aware that its decision to provide feedback on being excluded from the baby boomers is no stamp duty policy made by the South Australian Labor government during their election campaign has been received by some people as being ageist. However, the intent of the decision was not to disadvantage, exclude or discourage older people from living in Victor Harbor. Older residents are and always have been a valued part of our community. The driver for the decision was Council's strategic responsibility to plan for a balanced and sustainable demographic profile that supports the long-term well-being of the entire community. It was about retaining and attracting workers that keep our town running and provide the support to our older residents that rely upon them into the future. The intent of the decision was not to discriminate, and the council is working to make our community better for all generations to thrive. That is the basis of our current Future Ready strategy. Council will be considering a motion later this evening that also relates to your question.
Question, sir? Thank you. If after reflection, do you consider the decision to be ageist, what will you do to rectify the matter? But obviously nothing.
I wouldn't like to say that at all. As I said to you just not even a minute ago, Mr. Klimpson, that council is considering a motion later on this evening to address some of the concerns that you have raised. It is really important for us to have a balanced demographic here in Victor Harbor. It's really important for us to encourage younger people to come to Victor Harbor, which we are doing with our current Future Ready strategy, so that we have a balanced demographic and we value our older population very much. And as I said, we'll be considering that a little bit later on tonight.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
We now move to 9.1, which is the outstanding resolutions for March 2026. The council, the recommendation is that council receive and note the report. If somebody would like to move that way. Thank you, Councillor Henderson, and seconding Councillor Mann. Do either of you want to speak to it? Does anyone have any questions about the outstanding resolutions? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to thank the CEO again. The report's very good. It has a lot of detail and dates, which I really appreciate. And it's given the information that I really need to see if I've got any questions. And at the moment, I don't. It's actually satisfied everything that I would normally want to ask. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.2 is the review of the Code of Practice for Meeting Procedures. There's two options there. Option one, the reviewed practice for meeting procedures with the markups as we have got in the attachment, and option two with further council member feedback. Would someone like to move option one or two, please? Councillor Schiller?
I'd like to move option one.
Thank you. Would I have a seconder for that? This will lapse if I don't have a seconder. This motion is lapsed for want of a seconder. We now move to item 9.3. Can I just remind elected members it is your duty to vote on motions, and if the administration have taken the time, as they did with that last one that has lapsed, to do a survey of the elected members, to gather feedback from the elected members, to get the feedback that you have put in to update our code of practice for meeting procedures because you want that tighter, and then I don't even get a seconder for it, I think that is very poor form. You have to remember why you are here. You can always vote no if you don't agree. You can debate about why you don't agree. But we have a duty. Councillor Kemp.
Since the motion has lapsed, can I move option two?
You can move option two. Do I have a seconder for option two? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do either of you want to speak to option two?
Yes, I think, again, meeting procedures reviews are always work in progress, and we need to keep defining them and fine-tuning them to ensure that the members understand the procedures, and so does the community understands on how we operate and how we think and why we make decisions and do certain things. So I think this is a good step in the right direction.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson? No? Does anybody else want to speak? Councillor Schiller and then Councillor Burns.
Could we go out of meeting procedure? Because I'd like some clarification about the two components, both from Councillor Henderson and Councillor Kemp, of the intent of their state or their wording that they would like to put in there.
Councillor Kemp moved the motion, and I'm happy for Councillor Kemp to provide further clarity about the motion.
The question is that in your adjustment, you're requesting, from what I can read, that any person can come into the chamber with multiple devices. Is that what you're asking to occur?
Basically, again, it's about having transparency and equity. This chamber now has, I thought 5, but it's got 6 cameras, I believe, which will do the live streaming. So I thought, then why are we restricting other people to 1 or 2 cameras? Because sometimes they have additional cameras for specific reasons, and that's why we got 6 cameras here for specific reasons. So again, it's about just providing equity and transparency for our community as well. But again, I don't believe in all the 7 years I've been here, we've never seen more than 1 person with a camera. We've always only had 1. So again, maybe in the future, who knows, might have a lot of people coming in here with cameras. But again, that's the reason I thought that we would, I put that amendment in.
Has that clarified your query, Councillor Schiller?
Yes. Can I ask Marilyn Henderson the equivalent of her intent of her part? And then can I make a statement? Because I did ask whether I could go out of meeting procedure, but wasn't able to.
I've got nothing to add, Councillor Schiller.
Just a statement on it is that at the moment we have South Coast Television. It does have an exemption, and if somebody to the same equivalent could come into the chamber and was from another TV production or something, I believe that they could probably apply to council for a similar exemption and be based on merit. But as soon as we put that out there, that a multitude of people could come in. We have no control over that at all. And so we could have a room full of cameras and no room for our gallery. So at the moment, the way it's written, I'd rather see it a place that every exemption that we make has to be applied for. So at the moment, I'm not happy with the way the motion will sit with that in there.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Burns.
Thank you. I'm supportive of the option 2, primarily because council are live streaming, so people get to watch it, and occasionally people come in and may want to film, but it's only really media organisations that are going to have multiple lens cameras. In this case, it's only a single lens. And if we're transparent and we don't have an issue, I don't believe we're going to have a problem with seating or space. As Councillor Kemp said, in the last 7 odd years, it's never occurred. I doubt we can talk about what might happen in lots of things. I just think we are being too pedantic about what if scenarios rather than actually just say, look, we're just going to be transparent and allow people and manage it accordingly.
Thank you. Are there any further discussion? Councillor Mann.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, this is probably something that I think come up every 2 years for the entire time I've been here, so it'll probably keep coming up. And I think probably the biggest point that probably changes previous position is that as a council, we've now got 6 cameras filming the whole thing. So I might be hypocritical to say that the community or television organisations can't come in and film their own thing as well, or trying to limit that. So I think it's harder for us to stand our ground on that one. I think the added wording is reasonable in effectively just a common sense approach to it. If there's a lot of people in the gallery, obviously we want to try and fit everyone in and make sure they've got adequate room and they can see it. But I think it's excellent that the community and people online, whether it's through the council or a different streaming platform, are interested in local government. And I think anything we can do to help encourage that, to encourage public getting involved and being a part of the decision and the discussions is a good thing. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll now put that, sorry, Councillor Kemp, do you want to close the debate? Yep. I'll now put that to the floor. All those in favour? And those against? That's carried. Thank you. It's 2 against it. Now that needs to be carried by a majority, 2/3 majority. So that's carried. Can I have a try again? You call it when they stand up? Division. Can I have a division, please? All those in favour? Councillor Mann, Councillor Burns, Councillor Kemp, Councillor Schiller and Councillor Quinton, and those against Councillor Schofield and Councillor Henderson. I think that's 2/3. Yep, that's carried with the 2/3 majority. Thank you. 9.3, reviewed council member records management policy, and the recommendation is that we adopt the reviewed records management policy as provided at attachment 1. Would someone like to move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Schofield, and seconding Councillor Mann. Either of you want to speak to that? Anyone want to speak to that? Councillor Burns?
Just a question of clarity as to in 6.2, I think it is, it has that elected members need to return all original hard copy documentation after a meeting. I just wanted to check if that related to documents intended for corporate record keeping or also the documentation provided to councillors.
Victoria, can you respond to that?
Through the Mayor, it's actually related to any hard copy documentation. It's more referencing if you receive a hard copy letter from a resident in regards to a formal complaint.
Yep.
That is the hard copy, the original, that must be returned to council. You can't retain those hard copies. Copies of council minutes that you receive as an elected member are not original hard copies.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's clarified, I think.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to this? In that case, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.4, the review of the local government council member allowances, the City of Victor Harbor submission. The recommendation is that council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to submit feedback to the Remuneration Tribunal on the review of local government council member allowances as provided at attachment 2. Moving that way, Councillor Mann, and seconding that, please. Thank you, Councillor Schofield. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Mann?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, firstly, just to thank Kyla and the administration team for all the work they put into this. It's a really good submission. The one we did 4 years ago to the Remuneration Tribunal, I thought was excellent. They didn't really even refer to it or just said it wasn't good enough, and that was a shame. But I think this one really goes that next level and outlines how complicated the role of an elected member now is in the current local government ecosystem, particularly for a regional council that's facing rapid growth and with no traditional planning powers anymore, with no grant funding drying up, with trying to deliver community infrastructure in innovative ways. There's the role, I would say, is 10 times more complicated now than when I started, and I think it's going to get even more complicated. And I think that even with, if the Remuneration Tribunal puts us up a band in which we really should be, because I feel like some of the work we are doing when compared to some of those other councils that are in higher bands, I think we should be above them in any event. But I think it is really important that we try and make being a councillor as accessible as possible for our entire population, our entire residents base. I know so many people in our community who would make far better councillors than me, and it's all about how we can encourage them to put their hand up and serve their community. We're going to need people who are prepared to be innovative. We need people who are going to stand up for the residents of Victor Harbor, to push back against some of the growth, to hold the state government to account, but also to be willing to work with them. And it is a really complicated environment we're in, and a small pay increase such as this one, which isn't much, but everything helps, because there's, even with this, the complexities and the emotional toll, the time required for a council will still be far in excess of the remuneration. But I think it's around how we can make it a bit more palatable for those people who are, again, wanting to serve but might not have the financial means to be able to do that. So I'm really happy with the submission and want to thank administration for putting it together.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Schofield?
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Mann. It's a very important role, and it isn't just sitting at a council meeting once a month. It goes right into representing the community at quite a few things, not just here locally, can be other councils and even within the state. So I fully support this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Schiller?
Yep, just it's really well written, trying to drum home the fact that we've got such a large growth coming up, and that we've got some pretty complicated decisions that we need to make as a council. And so that workload that we will have and already have needs to be remunerated far better than what it is at the moment.
Any further discussion? Councillor Henderson?
Yes, I agree with everything that's been said. It is a very complex role, and we have to wear several different hats in this role. Currently, I sit on 13 advisory groups, committees, selection panels, etc., or within this council or for this council. Some of those committees are external committees, which require or request representation from us. And a lot of those meetings are during the day, so people who work full-time are not able to take on those roles. So those of us who have the time tend to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. If there's no, sorry, want to close the debate, Councillor Mann?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's a really great point that Councillor Henderson's raised there, and I really want to thank her for all the service she does for the council and the elected members, because with some of us on the chamber are working full time, and the things where it's in the day, it's taking annual leave to go to the council thing, and there is and I think that's why having a multi-generational chamber and council works so well, because everyone can work in and provide and support in different ways. I know Councillor Kemp is always responding to email requests from from community members in a much more timely manner than me, and it's really appreciated when I know that it's something addressed to all of us is being picked up by himself or any of the other councillors as well. And I think that is a big benefit to it. But again, everyone plays their part, and it's around how we can keep everyone being able to play a part, because it's not just younger people who are feeling the squeeze financially, and it's also older residents as well who want to who may be retired but need that extra income to support being on council. So I think it's a really important discussion, because the future of Victor Harbor, as much as I think the community maybe, and we're all going to complain about the local council, I think that's part of Australian culture, but I think the thing that's really I've really reflected on this past year is around how, in terms of Victor Harbor, the growth that's coming, the development, what the state government's imposing on us, all the community have is the council to protect them and to represent them. And I think that is very important. And I think the more we can encourage everyone to get involved, to put their hand up and nominate and be as accessible as possible, the better outcomes we'll have now and long into the future.
I'll now put that recommendation to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 9.5, the Fleurieu Aquatic Centre Joint Venture Agreement. This is the quarterly update, and the recommendation is receiving and noting the report. If someone would like to move that way, thank you, Councillor Henderson. And seconding, thank you, Councillor Schiller. Do either of you want to speak to this? Councillor Schiller, do you want to speak to this? Does anybody want to speak to it? In that case then, all those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. The Community Development, the Encounter Bay Bowling Club Septic Renewal. The recommendation is in two parts. I'll do both together. The first part is approving the allocation of up to $80,000 to enable the upgrade of the wastewater servicing the facility. And the second one is authorising administration to determine the preferred wastewater servicing option following confirmation from SA Water network capacity and final cost estimates. Moving that way, Councillor Schiller, thank you. And seconding that, Councillor Burns. Do either of you want to speak to that? Councillor Schiller?
Just that it's a logical thing to do, and I can't see that there's a difficulty in juggling it around and trying to get it sorted out.
Thank you. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm supporting this for two reasons. One, I like that it's a long-term solution rather than a short-term. And secondly, that I also like the fact that it's not actually really costing us any money, because we've got a provision in the budget and we can reallocate some money that we're not going to use to fund this. So it's not actually going to increase the deficit or assets or any costs at all to the community. And it enables administration to actually get in and actually fix this rather than wait for funding. So it's good.
Thank you. Any further discussion? In that case, I'll put it to the floor. All those in, oh, sorry, Councillor, did you want to say something else, Councillor Schiller? You're voting? Okay, sorry. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now move to the RSL grant proposal. And before we do that, I'd just like to remind everybody in relation to the Ombudsman's reminder a couple of months ago about conflicts of interest. And if people feel that they have a conflict of interest, then they need to do what is correct, whether that's a material conflict of interest, they need to leave. If it's a general conflict of interest, they can stay if they want to. So we have two recommendations on the floor. Councillor Kemp.
Yeah, I'd like to move to defer this to the April meeting due to the fact that on the recommendation of the CEO about information flow, that we need to finalise some finer points.
Move to the April meeting.
Yes.
Does I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Burns. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Arts and Culture Centre. The recommendation is that Council endorses the refined architectural design and documentation for the Arts and Culture Centre project as presented under separate cover for the purposes of progressing the development application, and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to make minor amendments to the design where necessary to address matters that may arise as part of the planning approval process. Do I have someone to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Henderson, and seconding Councillor Schofield. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Henderson? Councillor Schofield?
It's been a long time coming, and I think it's a good recommendation.
Thank you. Do I have anybody else wants to speak to this? Councillor Kemp?
Just a question along the lines of because the construction phase is not for another 8 years or so under the long-term financial plan or asset management plan, why is it such an important thing to go to development application so far? Why now? Can't we wait till a bit later on, depending, because things would change? I guess I need some advice on that.
Graham?
Through the Mayor, it's not that Council couldn't do that, but Council already is in the process of a development application for this particular project that was already commenced a couple of years ago. So having reviewed where we're up to with the design and the time frame between now and when it may be delivered under the long-term financial plan, which is 2031, I believe, that's about 5 years. So by the time the design work is still finished, that might be in parallel with the development application. The detailed design for a construction or the building side of the component can still happen. So it's all doable within that period still. That's why we're suggesting that's the way to go for Council.
A follow-up question, if I may. In doing the detailed design, and I know they're going to do some assessments of, systems or infrastructure or structural issues within the complex. Would that, if they find something dramatically and the design changes a great deal, would that affect the development application?
Through the Mayor, it won't affect the planning side of the development application. That will impact the building side.
Councillor Schiller and Councillor Burns.
Question, I'm assuming that by putting these detailed designs in, that if we have any progressive work that can be done over the ensuing years that's prior to the actual full build, that will assist in making those decisions.
Graham?
Through the Mayor, certainly does. Councillor Schiller, it provides a plan that can be worked to.
Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. I did have similar concerns as Councillor Kemp about putting in the development application. I also feel that by the time we get around to discussing building this, the plans will probably need to be redone or updated anyway. But I did like in the commentary by administration that one of the advantages of this is that it also assists with other work on the town hall and other arts areas as well, which I thought was actually very important to progress in that interim period. So it was sort of a balance. I think that's important to do. I have concerns about the application because, we have to be able to afford to do it. But I think the interim period sort of outweighed the the other concerns.
And if I may, Councillor Burns, what that may mean is that in the interim period, if there are things that are going to be done, we can do them because the plans are there. And if there's money to be spent, that will come back to council for council to look at in budget cycles. So it's not something that will happen willy-nilly. Thank you. Any, Councillor Mann?
Thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, no, this, I guess it really reminds me of the good old days of local government, where we'd consult with the community. They would tell us, here's the community infrastructure we need. We would get it shovel ready. We'd have the designs done. We'd sit on the shelf, and then we'd wait for the state government or the federal government to come to the party and give us money, and we'd start delivering it. And they were simpler times. And I look at this, and that's probably, I think it's optimistic around, oh, yep, we'll get the DA done, we'll get it sitting on that shelf, and we'll just wait for the state government and federal government to give us 15 million. I think by the time they're giving us that amount, it'll be, we need 30 million from them. And so I think that, there's a bit of optimism around that, but I think, when we've been trying to get 4 million from the state and federal government for over a year now, just for the rec centre, I think at this current time, a 15 million based on today's figures is quite an ambitious ask. But I think one thing with this is it is good from an arts and culture perspective that we are also looking at what interim measures we can do in the meantime to make the space more usable, to activate it, to increase some of the amenities and make it a bit more comfortable, because I think we will be waiting for some time. And I think a future council down the track will need to look at, okay, if this is the main priority for the community, we're going to have to look a bit more innovatively around how we deliver that. And I think hopefully there are bigger changes down the fact. I know from the workshop with the consultant preparing the plans, there's millions of dollars added to this price tag just because the state government, SA Water, won't increase the water pressure in the main street. That requires an entire basement to be dug. It requires a massive pumping system. It requires millions and millions of dollars worth of extra cost just to meet the firefighting requirements. And so hopefully we can keep pushing and get a bit more of a bigger water flow, and that might save some millions. But yeah, I'm happy to put this one on the shelf, ready and waiting for the money to flow in so we can deliver it. But also think around, if we've got a $30 million assets that will sit on our books, and then we have to rebuild that when it breaks down, we're paying a tremendous amount of depreciation, which the rate rise on a $30 million assets depreciation, would hate to ask Kelly, because I feel like it would be a fair bit each year. And so that's the other reason that makes this job so challenging, is we can't deliver things the way we used to do it. The state funding isn't there. The costs of construction are so big, the depreciation costs, and that's why as future councils, and what we've been doing for a number of years is looking at innovative ways to deliver the community infrastructure in a way that's affordable as well, because our community will keep growing. They'll want these community facilities, but we're going to have to think outside the box around how we deliver it. But happy to support this one for the time being.
Always the optimist, Councillor Mann, always the optimist. And Councillor Henderson, do you want to close the debate?
Yes, thank you. On the back of what Brayden has just pointed out, the reality of what this is going to cost, and of course that cost is forever going to increase. What we really need is some billionaire benefactors out there who love arts and culture. So if you're listening out there, we welcome any donations.
And this is one of the reasons that council is looking at private partnerships, because it's becoming not like the good old days that you've been referring to, Brayden. You've been here so long now, I can see the grey hairs, the simple times where council could build stand-alone things. And we're seeing this happen more and more to local government, where there's lots of things we don't have control over. We don't have control over, the residential villages that are popping up all over the place. People think we do, but we don't. And we can't afford to do things the way that we used to be able to do them. So anyway, you've closed the debate. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now move to the Arts and Culture Programming Commitment. We had a workshop on this last week, and the recommendation is that Council approve the continuation of the existing Arts and Cultural Program in line with our current service levels and resource allocations. Moving that way, Councillor Henderson, thank you. And do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Schofield. Do you want to speak to that, Councillor Henderson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, over the 7 years I've been with Council, we've seen arts and culture continually grow, and we need to keep this momentum going. Eventually towards the Arts and Culture Centre that we're still planning to establish. But the Coral Street Art Space and the cinema have definitely brought an additional vibrancy to the city of Victor Harbor in the last few years. And we, as I said, we need to keep this momentum going. And we need to have some certainty because exhibitions, for example, are planned at least 18 months in advance. So if there's not certainty, we can't look to the future for some of these things.
Thank you. Councillor Schofield, do you want to speak to this? No. Anyone? Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. This was, I thought was going to be easy, but it actually ended up being more complicated. I see the value and the cost isn't really that significant, but I still come back to agreeing with Councillor Mann and Councillor Coimbra that we should be looking at some reciprocal funding arrangement on this rather than bear the full cost because Arts SA have withdrawn their funding. I see the value to the community, but again, we're doing more and more things on behalf of the state government, and I think there should be at least some contribution in this. So, yeah, I have a real problem. I don't know what can be arranged, but I think just expecting councils to fund everything is also becoming a challenge.
Can I just reiterate that that Arts, Country Arts SA did support this, and you for 6 years. Normally they only do 1 or 2 year funding as a startup to help. But we were able to get this not just for 1 or 2 years or 3 or 4 years, but we actually got it for 6 years, which is pretty much unheard of. And they have said, you know, other council areas and other regional areas need to have that support now. It was always only going to be temporary support. And yes, in a ideal world, it would be great to have state government funding for this. And certainly I know the Coral Street Art Space do apply for a lot of art-related grants that are usually fairly small state government grants, but they do apply for them. But Country Arts SA is not going to be able to continue the support that it did, and we're lucky to have had it for the last 6 years. Councillor Schiller?
As mentioned before, we've been building this arts program up for several years, and it's got to a point where we've got a good cross-section of arts that are being represented. We're looking at trying to encourage young people to stay within Victor Harbor, and the arts community is a big part of that. If anyone attended the Powerful Women exhibition last year, there was a huge amount of younger people at that event, much more than what you would have seen at maybe some of the other events that have been put in place in the past. So I think this is just an investment in our culture, our well-being, and the vibrancy of our city.
Thank you. Any further, Councillor Mann?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. Yeah, I think it is fantastic that we got that support from Country Arts, and that is very much appreciated in establishing our vibrancy. You know, it is something the community want. They want a vibrant community. They want the town to look attractive. They want the arts. They want the decorations. We remember when they came wanting the Christmas decorations because we were the Grinch for a few years there, and so these are things that the community want and expect of council. It's becoming increasingly hard for council to fund everything the community wants. And I think probably just to clarify some of maybe my comments made in the workshop that Councillor Burns was referring to, I think where I was coming from more was when we looked at Country Arts stepping away. We had their representative come say, "Oh, don't worry, we're stepping away from funding the program, but we'll be able to continue to give you all these grant funding for projects." And I think that's probably the key thing of remembering and recalling that. And I think there has been opportunities for those grant fundings, but I think if council and the community are going to continue to make a commitment in trying to make our town vibrant, again, we want to be making sure that we're not doing that by ourselves. We're getting that funding from the state government, who has the squillions of dollars that they get, and I think that's where our advocacy and and showing that we've got a commitment will help, because it helps ask others to pony up for funds as well. So I think it is an important commitment, and then we should continue it. But I think part of the commentary going forward is, okay, what is the other contributions coming in from Country Arts and other organisations as well? I think that's always an important thing to recall and keep track of.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Henderson, do you want to close the debate? No, I'll put that to the floor then. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. The artwork loan agreement, the recommendation is that council approves the loan of artwork to Southern Fleurieu Health Services, and the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to sign the agreement. When this was discussed, when the agenda was being put together, I asked if we could do an inspection of the artwork at the hospital to make sure that it was being kept in good condition, and I'm really pleased to say that the report came back. Thank you very much, Karen, from Director Rokoczynski, to say that it was being kept in good condition. So would someone like to move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Kemp, and seconding Councillor Henderson. Do either of you want to speak to that? Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. It's a great concept, because hospitals are very drab places to be in sometimes, and having some beautiful artwork on the walls does inspire and makes it look really great to go to, especially when patients are recovering, and plus the workforce in there, having some great paintings in there. And I guess it's rotating them on a regular basis. So I know it's better to keep rotating so people of the community can see what we have in the way of a council and our art collection. So instead of just being stuck in a room gathering dust. So I think it's a great concept.
Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Kemp said much of what I was going to say. The 6 images here look like beautiful pieces of art. I haven't seen them in person. I don't want to be in hospital to see them. And yes, I think the rotational thing is a good one. And if we could rotate them in the chamber too, that would be great.
Yes. Now that I know that their cigarette butts are not corks down there, it would be good to be rotated, because I don't like looking at them. Councillor Schofield.
Thank you. Yes, look, I agree wholeheartedly on this. We have a fantastic art collection at council, and I have many a times in my recent trips to the hospital stood and looked at the artwork while I've been waiting, and just feeling quite proud that we at the City of Victor Harbor own, on behalf of our community, such magnificent pieces of artwork. I guess the other thing that, and I did ask a few years ago and they said it would be quite costly, I'd like to see an art exhibition of all of our pieces of art that the community can come in and have a look at to see just what we have purchased on their behalf.
Thank you. Any further discussion? In that case, we'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 11.2, the receiving and note the Business Systems Optimisation Phase Quarterly Summary Report. And that was highlighted in the workshop that we had last week. If someone could move that. Thank you, Councillor Henderson. And seconding, please. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Anyone want to talk about it? Councillor Burns and Councillor Kemp.
Thank you. As I've mentioned in the workshop, I really appreciate getting the detailed report. As requested, they've put in some of the, not only the improvements and challenges and so forth, which gives a lot of information, which is great. the progress is going good. I mean, the only concerns I've had have been around the payroll delays and the rates notice delays, but otherwise, it's good to get these reports each quarter. So it's good.
Councillor Kemp.
Yes, it's a good report and a good update on it. And what really stands out in my mind is on page 162, which is payroll processing efficiencies. 68% efficiency improvement. To me, that's good productivity. That's what productivity is about. And I guess this is what was said that once this corporate system comes into place, we'll start to see those types of things happening. So it's great. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. The solar and virtual power plant project, which is quite exciting. I'll do that recommendation, those 5 recommendations on block unless there are any objections. Moving that, Councillor Henderson, thank you. And Councillor Schofield seconding that. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Henderson?
Yes, I agree, Mayor. This is exciting. And of course, it fits with our 2019 climate emergency declaration, but it also lets our community know that we're taking steps to address the threat of climate change into the future. It shows leadership by us to the residents and shows that we care about future changes. And we are strategic in our thinking and planning to be resilient in the face of the future change.
Thank you. Just before you speak, Councillor Schofield, the CEO wants to say something.
I just wanted to clarify or bring to your attention, there was one change to one of those recommendations. It does not change the intent of any of the motion or the decision of council, but on receipt of some information from the Yankalilla Council, where we had accept residents from the District Council of Yankalilla, they've just said, subject to confirmation from District Council of Yankalilla. The CEO advised me that his chamber had not made that decision. We can't actually refuse them, but they are unsure as to whether they're going to undertake their own scheme. They're not in a position to do so. So I just clarified that wording. They were more comfortable with number 5, and I'm happy to read it out aloud, Angela, just for your benefit. So it now reads, subject to confirmation from the District Council of Yankalilla that residents from the District Council of Yankalilla Council area be permitted to join the City of Victor Harbour's virtual power plant, allowing them to take advantage of bulk buy discounts for solar panels and batteries. So it's just having a provision in there. We're just waiting to hear from them. They haven't said no, like Alexandrina, because they want to do their own, but they just wanted to have some further time.
Thank you, Victoria. Councillor Schofield, did you want to speak?
I agree with Councillor Henderson, and I also quite pleased to think that in the forward planning, a refuge for our community in disasters is something that we haven't really got at this particular stage, and I think that's a fantastic thought to have.
Thank you. Councillor Schiller, Councillor Burns.
Just the combination of being able to make this building self-sufficient in an emergency is a really important thing. And if we can build it in with the Shine Hub concept for the virtual power plant, we're looking to link it into a future plan. So I'm fully supportive.
Thank you. Councillor Burns.
Thank you. A small, hopefully not too technical, but a clarification by the CEO. One of the challenges you have with virtual power plants is when you extend it to the community, depending on the design, as opposed to just a single building, there is the risk of drawing down power too quick on the battery, and that actually shortens the battery life significantly. So therefore you're replacing it, which has a higher cost. What safeguards have been put in place in this proposal to ensure that it's future-proof? So if it was just about the council chambers, then I think what's proposed here is adequate. But once you start extending it, you tend to have a slightly different design and more redundancy and load balancing solutions put in. Now, it may be included, but I just thought I'd just check on that.
My understanding is that Shine Hub would be dealing with all of that because they do all the infrastructure. So it's not something that the council would be dealing with. We're partnering with Shine Hub, who will be doing all of that. That's Mark might want to clarify.
Yeah, and through the Mayor, thank you. It's in the best interest for Shine Hub to maximise the life of those batteries because they derive an income as well from it. They also do what they call micro dosing and drawing back down. And the larger we've got a pool of batteries and solar to draw upon, the less of that problem that you're talking about will occur. So certainly it's in their best interest to maximise the length of those battery lives.
Wasn't clear if there was multiple battery banks, and that's how you offset that.
Yeah,
that's all.
So just again, a bit through the Mayor, is that each of those batteries and the whole system, they all talk to each other. So the virtual power plant is established by the fact that each battery and setup has a dedicated Wi-Fi, and that's how it does it from a technical point of view.
Councillor Kemp.
Yes, it's a good idea and a good concept there if it was just for the council infrastructure only. I do have some issues around our system in the sense of how many solar panels are we looking at, and is the roof rated to take all that extra weight on this building and the library, and how many batteries or battery that would require and where would it be located? Because according to the size of what we're going to be doing, you need a fair few batteries. I'll just talk to you a little bit later if I can have those questions answered.
Mark?
Yep, through the Mayor, thank you for your question. So I've been down to Mitcham Council and looked at their installations, both at their library and their main office area. So they have batteries, if you look at that in the corner there, probably maybe 4 times the size of that cabinet. They can be located externally to the building because they need cooling and so forth. So we're looking at 400 kilowatt hours of battery storage, maximum drawdown, also 400 kilowatts continuous energy. The roof, we're putting 300 kilowatts of additional solar onto this roof. So basically every square metre of this building will be covered in solar panels. But part of the project's setup would be we would be drawing on the resources from Mitcham Council to help project managers because they've done it on their own buildings. So we'll be bringing in one of their own staff to help project manage it, and that's part of the design, is working out where these batteries will go, where the generator is. But more than likely it will be out where we store the bins out in the car park there. That bin location might get moved because that's where the main feed comes in from the South Australian Power Networks, is from the transformer on the main George Main Road there. So.
Yeah, thank you. As I said, it's a great concept. But again, I think for our building only is fantastic, but we go into a partnership of a virtual power plant. I know what Councillor Burns said. I know what the manager Mark said. But from my knowledge and experiences owning a battery and solar panels, and when you work with a virtual power plant, they do drain your battery very quickly when the demand is high and it's excessive. And it does cause damage to your battery. Your life of the battery doesn't last as long. To me, putting this out to the community for them to jump on board, again, I don't think is a good vibe from the council. Maybe thinking about that, if this is a game changer where they draw down the power so quickly that you end up, damaging people's and community batteries, because they took on advice and good that council is doing the right thing by its community by opening this up to the community. So again, I support having it on this building and everything what it's designed for, but to get involved in the virtual power plant and to look at the future cost of those batteries if there's a massive drawdown, and they do draw down very often at times around the place. So I do have to disagree with Mark on that one because of personal experience and what I know, what I've seen under my system and how they draw it down very quickly over about an hour or two. The battery's nearly flat when they're on demand. So it's not a good idea. So anyway, that's just my opinion.
Councillor Mann.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question to Mark to clarify. If people are wanting to participate in the bulk buy solar scheme and or battery scheme, but do not want to be part of the virtual power network because of maybe similar concerns that Councillor Kemp's raised, do they have to be in that virtual power thing, or they can opt out?
I'm not 100% sure it's through the mayor. I'm pretty sure they can just buy the batteries and the solar and not participate in the VPP.
Yep. No, thank you. That was my understanding, but it's good to clarify because I think part of the thing, Mitcham Council did a lot of work, spent a lot of money exploring all the options and had a very expert tender around picking a group or a company to work with. But I think the key thing that they raised with us, and I think it's important for the messaging, is council is not entering into contract with the community around this. It's completely between the consumer and the individual residents, whether they want to do the bulk buy solar and battery, if that's going to save them money and as an option, they can choose to do that. They can choose to be a part of a virtual power network and receive a income back if it's drawn down, or they can opt out. It's effectively, as council, saying, yep, no, this is something that for our buildings, for our community, for our infrastructure, we're happy to invest in and see the benefit of it. But that's a decision for every individual property owner to make. And they're allowed to, and they can opt in and out of whichever elements they're wanting.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Henderson, do you want to close the debate? No. I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And I think that that's a fabulous decision. I remember when Victoria, the CEO, and I went to Marion Council and spoke to Shine Hub when they were there. And I've also spent quite a lot of time talking to the Mayor of Mitcham, who started this initiative. It gives the community choice. They can opt in or they can opt out. And it also provides, I think if we have it on council, if there are power outages and bad weather or anything like that, then we can keep going and we can be a place of refuge. So I think that doing this is a huge win for the City of Victor Harbor. It's a huge win for our community. And as we go into the future, I think we will see more and more councils opting to do a virtual power plant based on solar energy. We now move to 12.2, that's the Bacchus Road Emu Crossing. I'm happy to do this one en bloc unless somebody would like me to do it in 3 different parts. But if someone would like to move en bloc. Thank you, Councillor Burns. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Burns, do you want to speak to it?
Again, it's something that is, I think, a good project, and because again it can be funded by the reallocation of existing money, it's got my support. So it doesn't cost us any more money, but it also benefits. Something that we need to do. It's just, can we afford to do it? In this case, we can. So
thank you, Councillor Schiller.
For the benefit of the young children that are around that area, I think it's a no-brainer. So fully support it.
Does anybody else want to speak to this? Councillor Mann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. No, I think it's fantastic to be able to provide this. My query is potentially around the location of where that crossing is expected. I note in the assessment report it's mentioned that vehicle queuing back onto Inman Valley Road is not expected to occur when the Emu crossing is being used. This is because the school car park access is located approximately 20 minutes south of the proposed crossing, and the majority of vehicles accessing the car park are anticipated to/from the south. Now, it probably would have been good 15 plus odd years that Mum used to pick me up from the investigator kiss and drop there, but my concern is around whether locating the crossing south of that kiss and drop turn section will see a large amount of queuing back onto that main road and also back the other way, because there is a significant amount. Back then there was, maybe it's changed now, I doubt it, that would come and go around and pick up kids, drop off kids, especially at peak school times. Now, if that coincides with a bunch of kids leaving through that crossing, that's probably my biggest concern. And I note that this is going to go, I understand it might go to the school for their comment and consultation still. So I'd be interesting to ask that specific point of them and see whether is that the best location for it, noting that kiss and drop. Maybe future planning might be different around where that's located, but that's probably the main thing that I would query and I guess bring to administration's attention to consult with the school about.
Would it be worth having another part to that recommendation that the council consult with the school?
Okay.
I think that's already happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy to answer that question if you like,
Yep.
Mayor. And thank you for your question. So the advantage of where it's currently proposed to be located is one, that it will join onto the shared path. But also what's happening out there at the moment is that a lot of people are avoiding using the large brand new car park because when they try and get out, they can't get out because all the people coming down from further up the road network don't let them in. So by having the crossing where it is, will actually alleviate some of the traffic congestion problems because it'll cause a break, allow people to come out of that car park and then to the roundabout and so forth.
Yep.
Whereas now, not many people are using the main car park.
Yeah, sure.
And they would rather go up into the residential area, turn around and come back
Yep.
and pick up their child because then they get the first right away, so they come straight through. So by putting it where it is actually part of the cunning plan.
Because would they still use that? Sorry, through the mayor. Would they still use, I guess, going into that residential, or are they using that existing kiss and drop turnaround section, or is it?
And not so much the behaviour now is that
Yeah.
they'll go into the residential area, turn around, park on the verge, and getting told off by our lovely staff. Well, not told off terribly much, but anyway, it's causing problems with the residents along there because they're parking on the verge, and this will hopefully alleviate it.
Yep.
Because people will now be encouraged to use the brand new car park to come in and then come around, and by causing that break in traffic to allow people to come out.
Yep. No, thank you, Mark. Reminded me I'm getting old and out of touch, so I appreciate that.
And yes, the school have been consulted, and they're very happy where it's proposed, and they'll be funding the part of the network between the road and their existing footpath network.
Councillor Quinton.
Just wanted to say this is a really good step forward for the safety of the school kids getting to school. But just a flag for students coming into the school from further afield, there is still no safe crossing over Armstrong Road or Inman Valley Road to get into the school. So I look forward to revisiting that previous discussion that we've had.
Thank you. Any further discussion? No, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Council meeting minutes, and this one is of the Southern Communities Transport Scheme Advisory Committee meeting. And the recommendation is that we receive and note those minutes. And I'll just, before we go to asking for a mover and seconder, both Carol Schofield, Councillor Henderson and myself, as elected members, attended the Scots Volunteer Night at the Golf Club. And there were volunteers that have been volunteering for the Southern Communities Transport Scheme for 40 years, which is, I think, pretty amazing. And a couple of certificates for 20-year services were also given out. So a really big thank you to our Scots volunteers who do an incredible job in their work, and thank you to the administration staff that support them through Graham's department. So we do have a recommendation that Council receive and note those minutes. If I move them, thank you very much, Councillor Henderson, and seconding Councillor Schofield. Any questions about the minutes? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 13.2, the CEO Performance Review meeting minutes for the 18th of February. Recommendations receiving and noting them. Do I have someone to move that way? Thank you, Councillor Mann, and seconding that, please. Thank you, Councillor Quinton. Any questions about those minutes? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. The Fleurieu Regional Services Advisory Committee minutes from the 10th of March. Recommendation receiving and noting them. Moving that way, Councillor Henderson, and seconding, please, Councillor Schiller. Any questions about those minutes? No. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now move to 14.1, which is the subsidiaries and representative reports. The Fleurieu Regional Waste Authority second budget review. The recommendation is that council approve the budget review. Would someone like to move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Burns. And seconding that, please, Councillor Mann. Thank you. Any questions, or do you want to speak to that? You do want to speak to that? No, all good. Anyone want to speak to it? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. 14.2, the Fleurieu Regional Waste Authority Treasury Management Review, 2025-26. And I'll take the recommendation as read. Would someone like to move that way? Councillor Henderson, thank you. And seconding Councillor Burns. Do either of you want to speak to that? No. Does anybody want to speak to that? All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. There are no matters of urgency. There are no questions on notice. Are there any questions without notice? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. I received a letter from residents of Victor Harbour, Miss Lorraine Shaw, about parking motorised mobility scooters in disability car park spaces. And she was seeking clarity, I think, from the council about the use of motorised mobility scooters in disability car parks. And she raised some valid questions. I looked up the Australian road rules that apply to South Australia, and it's my understanding that under Australian road rules, Rule 18 and 19, a motorised mobility scooter is classified as a motorised wheelchair and is not classed as a motor vehicle in South Australia. And under those same rules, 18 and 19, a motorised wheelchair is deemed a pedestrian and therefore can use footpaths, but it cannot use disability parking spaces. Under the Motor Vehicles Registration Act of 2010 in South Australia, disability permits authorised for authorised vehicle use only to use disability bays, and a motorised mobility scooter, I believe, cannot legally occupy disability cars parking bay, as it's treated under the law the same as a pram or a wheelchair for parking purposes. Can council administration confirm this, please, so residents with motorised mobility scooters receive the clarity thereafter?
Can I just ask, was that, did you get those answers from AI?
No, I looked up the Australian road.
No, that's all right, because we need to be really careful because often ChatGPT and AI will provide answers that are not necessarily correct. What I'll do is I'll take that on notice and I'll ask administration if they can find out and they can answer their person concerned.
And again, how I'm interpreting the rules could be wrong. I just need that. And I think the community needs to know, can you or can't you? Because I think there's a little bit of confusion from that letter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if administration write back to her, and perhaps if they also give a copy of their letter back to her to the Disability Advisory Group, they may be able to disseminate that information as well. Thank you. Councillor Schiller.
May I just explain something to Councillor Burns? It has been directed to the Disability Access and Inclusion Committee, and Corey Wilberton, who will be acting manager of community services at that time. We will discuss it at that meeting.
Yes, I think most councillors received a copy of that. I referred mine to admin to answer and referred it to the Disability Committee as well. Thank you. Are there any further questions without notice? No. We now go to motions on notice. The first one being from Councillor Quinton around establishment of cat containment grant or subsidy program. Councillor Quinton, would you like to propose your motion?
Thank you. I'll take it as read. I would like to move my original motion, not the alternative recommendation. This is a way to help cat owners abide by the new bylaws that were changed recently. It's a way to positively go forward with helping people to do the right thing, and there's lots of benefits involved. So I hope this one gets through.
Do I have a seconder for this? Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Do you want to speak to it? Does anybody else want to speak to this? Councillor Burns and then Councillor Schiller.
It was more clarification questions for Councillor Quinton. I understand what you're proposing. What would probably have been helpful is some data as to what domestic as opposed to feral cats. I understand feral cats are an issue, but I'm just concerned about the cost for a lot of the demographic that may own cats, with the cost of living and so forth. And I totally get where you're coming from. If there is government subsidies or some funding to assist them, it may get expensive for council, and it may get expensive for users, assuming they've got the room, which most places probably have unless they're living in a flat. But it's more about the cost, but also understanding more the issues about the impact on wildlife and so forth would be helpful. And you may be able to refer me to.
Well, I guess first thing, it's nothing to do with feral cats. It's purely for owned cats that so people actually pay cat registration for. And basically what a catio is or a cat enclosure, it's basically an outdoor run, so that and it's generally linked to a window or a doggy door, and basically allows the cat to be able to safely go outside and enjoy some sunshine and have some room to exercise. It's a great way of being able to contain your cat on your property without worry of it roaming. There was a study done fairly recently which found that, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was like 80% of the native wildlife catch was actually from owned cats that roam, as opposed to feral and stray cats, because previously we've always thought that it's feral cats and stray cats are the problem. But the data shows that the one of the most significant problems, or the most significant problem, is owned cats that roam outside their household. So this is basically a way to help people own a cat and enjoy, make sure that cat enjoys an enriched life safely, and also making sure that wildlife stays safe. And just in terms of cost, originally, when I put this forward, I thought it was an original, unique thing, but I've subsequently realised that there's a council in the Adelaide Hills that have already done a similar program, and I think their grant subsidy was about $500 per catio, which will be enough to get a good start on building you could probably even build it if you do it yourself for that amount of money.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller.
Happy to support the concept, but also bearing in mind that the alternate recommendation was stated that we should be looking at this holistically, and I assume even if we put this motion through, we still will be able to achieve that when we look at the Dog and Cat Management Act, is it? So I'm happy to support it, but bear in mind we need to think of other things that we will be incorporating in it when we come to put our plan together.
Thank you. I'll let you speak at the end to wrap it up. Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak to this? You can speak now and wrap it up. Thank you, Michael.
Just to address Angela's concerns there. So the reason I want to keep this purely just to Victor Council is because the Dog and Cat Management Plan basically addresses the statewide program, but not all councils have the same bylaws. So Victor Harbour's bylaws are fairly unique. So waiting to put that into the larger plan, I feel like that's just going to go nowhere. And this is a way we can act quickly. And to give some numbers, I think $22,000 comes into the council through cat registration fees. So this will basically allow to give some of that money back to ratepayers who are paying CAT registration fees. And when you look at the numbers, the council doesn't spend a lot of or any money actually enforcing any of the CAT management laws. So this is a way to actually do something positive with that money that's paid through ratepayers into council rates.
Thank you, Councillor Quinton. I'll now put that to the floor. All those in favour? And those against? That's carried. Thank you. Motion on notice. Another one, Councillor Quinton. Investigate the feasibility of options presented by the Sea Rescue Squadron Deputation. Would you like to propose your motion?
Yes, so this one is read. And on this one, I will take the alternative recommended proposed by administration, please, if we can change that over. And this is following on from the deputation last meeting.
So, sorry, can I just clarify, Councillor Quinton, you said the alternative recommendation. They've got an additional recommendation. So
sorry.
you want to propose your recommendation
I
and
would like to include the additional recommendation.
include the
So
additional
before the
recommendation?
alternative recommendation, sorry.
So the motion is that the first paragraph there, that you request the Chief Executive Officer to undertake an investigation into the feasibility, and then also that grant funding be explored through the South Australian Boating Facilities Grant. That's right?
That's correct.
That's correct. Okay. Thank you. Sorry. Carry on.
And yes, following on from the deputation last meeting, so I feel like everyone is present for that. So happy to leave it at that.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Mann? Councillor Quinton, do you want to speak to your motion?
I don't think there's much more to add. I think everyone has had a chance to read it.
Councillor Mann? Does anybody want to speak to it? Councillor Burns?
I agree with Councillor Quinton. I think this is a good motion and it's worth pursuing. And I think if there's opportunities to benefit the Sea Rescue Squadron, then I'm supportive of it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Do you want to wrap it up? No? I'll put that to the floor. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We have a motion on notice from Councillor Schiller in relation to revoking motion OC 542026. Councillor Schiller, do you want to move your motion?
I'll split them up, and I emailed through a adjustment to the motion. It's very similar to all four motions are very similar to the revocation, but because administration have pointed out that because the letters have already been sent, that part of the motion has already been enacted, but the intent of the motion and the basically the stance of council has not been addressed adequately. And so if I'm assuming that if we put part one up first, and I'll ask the CEO if she could please read the wording out to everyone so they can hear it.
Through the Mayor, if I may. It's in response to the motion number OC 542026, moved by Councillor Braden Mann, seconded by Councillor Nick McKenzie. The City of Victor Harbour write to the Premier Peter Malinauskas and Opposition Leader Ashton Hearn, requesting that Victor Harbour homes be excluded from their proposed baby boomer downsizer stamp duty exemption plans due to the significant lack of access to GPs and health, medical and aged care support that our current residents are facing, and our community's endorsed mission to urgently lower our average age from 60 years to ensure Victor Harbour's future survival and prosperity. That Council is no longer requesting to be excluded from the South Australian Labor and Liberal Party's baby boomer downsizer stamp duty exemption plans.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Mann? Do you want to speak to your motion, Councillor Schiller?
Yes. I'm reading notes, so if I'm a bit stuttery, that's because I'm trying to read my notes. I believe that this policy stance is both discriminatory and not showing good governance. This could cost our ratepayers, our over 60s ratepayers, up to $103,000 of lost stamp duty exemptions through the baby boomer downsizer policy, particularly now the Labor in. The decision itself was made in approximately 9 to 10 minutes with very little debate in the chamber. It was not a motion on notice, which it should have been due to the complexities of the motion. If we had gone to do a rate differential for, say, a small business, we would do public consultation on that because of the financial impact on those particular people, and we haven't done that for this particular instance. Councillor Mann focused on people coming into the City of Victor Harbor, but avoided the subject of the implications that it would have on our own over 60s ratepayers if they wish to downsize. It's a reactive decision, not considered. It's done some reputational damage to council due to the advertiser article and multiple Facebook posts that were placed out both in the community groups and both the mayor and the council's pages as well. This is exclusionary. It isn't a proactive way to attract young people and to address the issues that have been brought up relating to GP crisis, if you want to use those words, and looking at trying to get essential workers and those sorts of workers into our community. We're sort of looking to block a full cohort of over 60s people from being able to utilise a stamp duty exemption that every other city, town can utilise. So we're excluding our over 60s from taking that opportunity, and it's a financial impost that you're putting on our ratepayers in this City of Victor Harbor. This motion that the state government are putting up actually is the sort of thing that we are trying to do, in that it will free up housing for younger people to purchase larger homes, and then those who wish to downsize can, with a probably financially a little better off, can build new homes, which brings a greater amount of housing and more suitable to age in place for those who are looking for a smaller home. 60s plus people provide great wealth. They're employed in our community. They are business people and they are volunteers. And to discriminate against them in this way is not appropriate. And that I believe we've made a mistake in this decision, and that we should own up to the mistake and reverse this particular decision, and make sure that if some decision like this comes up again, it comes as a motion on notice.
Thank you, Councillor Schiller. Councillor Mann is seconded. Do you want to speak to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. And yeah, Councillor Schiller, no, thank you for putting up the motion, and I definitely take your comments on board. I also completely agree that we never want to be intentionally offending or causing people to feel like they're not welcomed here. And if people felt offended from the motion, the commentary, or even the headline used by the advertiser, then I take full responsibility. And I really want to sincerely apologise to them for any of that offence that was felt or caused. That motion, along with all the work we've been doing over a number of years, is being grounded in a love for our older residents and a genuine belief that everyone should be able to access high quality health and care services locally and in a timely manner. And that's not the case for many of our current residents, and it's looking like to continue to be the case. We have new residents moving here who can't get a local GP, or existing residents who are waiting months and months for an appointment. The demand is so much. the state government rejected our request before they formally received it, and we knew they would. This motion was about continuing in a very important discussion with our community. As I understand it, in 25 years, Victor's average age is projected to be about 67 years old. And that's before all the new over 50s villages, that's before any stamp duty downsizes exemption. And a discussion needs to be had with the council and with the community. And we've heard a lot from the community and the people around South Australia. Firstly, we've heard that there are a massive amount of people around the state planning on downsizing to Victor Harbour. We've also heard from a lot of people that they still think council has any planning power or controls, especially over our over 50s villages. People were rightly saying, why is council trying to lower our average age whilst at the same time they're approving all these over 50s
Councillor Mann, can you speak into your microphone a bit more?
Sorry. But sadly, our council and our community has been stripped of any meaningful power over our local planning. Victor Harbour will soon have over 1,800 homes only for those over the age of 50. We don't ever refer to that as discrimination or ageism though, but there's nothing council can do to stop another 1,800 more coming. And thirdly, we also heard from the baby boomers and downsizers that they are finding it tremendously difficult in this market to afford to buy a new, smaller home, and that they're desperately needing this stamp duty exemption. If you look at a $350,000 block of land, it would save them $14,000 in stamp duty. But they've told us they need this exemption. And I think that really highlights the
1 minute
hopelessness of the situation for our first home buyers. Even though this motion, the stamp duty downsize exemption, will make it harder for our local young people to buy a new home or land, South Australia and our residents have told us that they want Victor to receive the downsizer stamp duty exemption. So we've got to listen to them. So I am in complete support of Councillor Schiller's motion, but in return, I think we ask the community and the people of South Australia for their help. They're helping signing our petition to remove stamp duty on existing homes for first home buyers, because that is now so much more important. Imagine being able to sell your loved existing home to a young family instead of an interstate investor. So hopefully we can, all these empty houses now can be bought by first home buyers, but I think we need to get an exemption for them first. So I'm very happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. And can I just say, while you said that you take full responsibility for this as it was your motion, I, as Mayor, also need to take responsibility for accepting your motion as a motion without notice. I think in retrospect, it was something that the community needed to be consulted on. And I also think that, that's something that we learn every day. I would also like to say to all the elected members that if there is something that I do or that any of you do that you don't agree with and you think goes against the guiding principles of council, then you can and you should put up an objection. Even if it makes me just stop and think a little bit more and makes you think a little bit more, I think that's a really good thing to do, and it's part of meeting procedures. So, as Mayor, I also take responsibility for this, and I thank you for doing the same thing. Does anybody else want to speak to this? Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm supportive of the revocation motion that Councillor Schiller is putting up. Unfortunately, I wasn't here at the council meeting when this was discussed, but I've had a read through of everything and just want to make the following observations. The original motion sought to request that the Minister exclude residents over the age of 60 from accessing a state government housing incentive. I understand the intention behind the motion to improve housing affordability and to create opportunities for younger residents. Those are goals I support, but the mechanism proposed, I believe, was fundamentally flawed. First, the motion, I believe, was vulnerable under the Equal Opportunities Act of 1984. Age is a protected attribute. A request that a class of people be denied access to a public benefit solely because of their age is at minimum discriminatory in effect. Even though the motion took the form of writing a letter, the substance matters. Council cannot resolve to advocate for an outcome that would treat a protected group less favourably. Secondly, I believe the motion risks being perceived by the community as age-based exclusion. Victor Harbour has one of the highest proportions of older residents in the state. Many have contributed to this community for decades. A resolution that singles them out as a problem to be managed is not only divisive, it undermines trust in this chamber. We cannot build a cohesive community by pitting one demographic against another. Third, I believe the motion did not achieve the outcomes it claims to support. If our goal is to increase affordable housing stock for younger residents, the evidence shows the original motion would have done the opposite. In Victor Harbour today, the average cost for house and land package, a new build, is approximately $550,000 to $650,000. By contrast, the average purchase price of an established home is around $765,000. In other words, it's cheaper for a younger residents to purchase a new home and land package than to buy an established home. Downsizing by older residents is one of the few mechanisms that frees up established homes, but those homes are not the affordable entry point. The affordable entry point is new builds. Discouraging downsizing does not help young people. It restricts supply and keeps prices higher. Fourth, I do not accept the administration's view that the motion aligns with council's strategy to attract younger residents. Attracting younger people requires jobs, services, transport, education and housing supply. Restricting a stamp duty concession for retirees does not advance any of those objectives. It's not an evidence-based policy. Finally, I question the advice the motion was not ultra-virus. Council's powers do not extend to advocating for discriminating treatment of a protected class. Even if the minister would never act on such a request, the act of making it places council outside the bounds of equitable governance and exposes us to unnecessary legal and reputational risks. We should pursue policies that support younger residents and improve housing affordability, but we must do so in ways that are lawful, effective and respect every member of the community. So I commend the revocation motion to the chamber.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I'll put that to the vote. Councillor Schiller, do you want to close the debate?
Just some comments around thank you, Councillor Burns. You articulately spoke that very well. We need to be targeting the right way to achieve the goals that we're trying to be achieved by this. If you want to take the GP, encouraging GPs to come to Victor Harbour, we need to look to advocate to federal government about placement of GPs in regional towns. We also need to do the same thing.
Sorry, Councillor Schiller.
I'm rebutting the comments of Councillor Mann. That's the appropriate thing to do in the closing debate.
I'm not sure that Councillor Mann said we shouldn't have GPs.
He's saying.
Just make sure that you keep it to a rebuttal. Thank you.
Councillor Mann put this up with the proviso that the reason we were doing this was because of the shortfall of GPs, essential workers. This is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to target the areas where we need to advocate, and also we're looking at our housing, the way we're looking at housing. I'm foreshadowing a motion that will come up in the future where we look at all of our strategies and we make a coordinated effort to look at our housing together as a council, not on a motion without notice.
That closes the debate. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. You have another motion, Councillor Schiller.
Yes, this is to write back to our Premier and our opposition leader, currently the opposition leader, explaining that we have...
do you want to do those three together?
I want to do this one and then I will probably do 3 and 4 together. So if I could ask the CEO to read the exact wording of motion 2.
Yes, that council write to the Premier, Peter Malinauskas, and Opposition Leader Ashton Hearn to advise that council has revised that council has reversed its decision to request that Victor Harbour homes be excluded from their proposed baby boomer downsizers stamp duty exemption plans.
Yep. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Burns. Do you want to speak to it, Councillor Schiller?
I think it's appropriate to write back to say that we have reconsidered the motion that was put forward. I don't think it's going to, I'm sure we'll be able to write a letter which is explaining the situation in a way that's not going to reflect badly on us, but it needs to be done.
Councillor Burns, do you want to speak to that?
No, just that I agree with Councillor Schiller's comments.
Does anybody want to speak to that? Those in favour? Those against? That's carried, thank you. Councillor Schiller?
I'm happy to put 3 and 4 together, but I would ask the CEO if she could please read 3 and 4 for me.
Yes, so that council publicly advises the community of the decision that council is no longer requesting to be excluded from the South Australian Labor and Liberal Party's baby boomer downsizers stamp duty exemption plans. That council issue a press release to the Fleurieu Sun and the Victor Harbour Times newspapers and the council Facebook page advising that council is no longer requesting to be excluded from the South Australian Labor and Liberal Party's baby boomer downsizers stamp duty exemption plans.
Do I have a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Schiller, do you want to speak to it?
Yep, I think this needs, because we've got 2 issues going on at once, we are trying to promote the first home buyers exemption for regional towns, and that clouded message has got mixed up with the message that of this motion that went through, and there was a lot of confusion in the community, and I take this motion that we've just reversed around as a totally different issue to we have as a council endorsed and voted in a proper manner on a motion on notice about Councillor Mann's petition that is floating around in our township. But the messaging that has gone out both by ourselves as councillors and from administration has confused people immensely. And I think to provide that clarity, there was a newsletter that went out on February 23rd, which stated that we supported downsizers policies to support the exemptions for downsizers, and also that we support exemptions for first home buyers, muddying the waters. So we need to clearly articulate that this is completely different to our future ready strategy and our first home buyers petition that's out there.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Oh, you've got a second, Mr. Councillor Burns. Do you want to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Schiller. I think that what we've passed this evening will hopefully diffuse a lot of the confusion, but also a lot of the anger in the community, and allow us as a council to focus on a lot of the good strategies that we need to have underway, but we also need to still work on to try and address and attract more young people to Victor. And I think until we had that clarity, we can put that to bed and then move forward with all the more positive stuff.
Thank you. Councillor Schiller, Councillor Schofield, and then Councillor Quinton.
Thank you. I think if we're going to make an announcement, we really need to make a statement on the reason why. We just can't say, you know, we're not going to do that, we don't want to do it. Our community would want to know why we have changed our minds. And I believe that needs to be very, very clear in anything that we print, in why. And whether it's because of the mix up, or people may have seen us as a mixed up, or it's not really what we were thinking, or how we really wanted to word it, it needs to be clear so they understand. Otherwise, just making a statement saying, oh no, we're not going that way anymore, will leave too much doubt in our community.
Councillor Quinton.
I just want to firstly commend Councillor Schiller on this, on her motions, and then also Councillor Mann and the Mayor for taking ownership of the misunderstandings around the original motion. And just want to make a comment around all of the blow up around this in the media and social media, and then the deputation today. I think it's important to just note that, yeah, there's the ageist thing has been thrown around a lot lately. But I personally don't see any difference in having exclusive over 55 retirement villages that exclude people under 55. I mean, isn't that ageism as well? And it's exactly the same as what everyone's talking about. So I feel like all of this debate is fine, but I'm a bit perplexed by the whole thing. I think there's been a lot that has been over emphasised, and key points are missing.
Thank you, Councillor Quinton. Councillor Mann.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jenkins. And yeah, thank you, Councillor Schiller, for these motions as well. I guess addressing some of Councillor Schofield's concerns, I'm wondering whether the mover and seconder would be open to a slight variation for the second one around the press release, just to finish with the words along the lines of apologising for any unintended unintended offence that was caused, and that council recognises and hears the community, both locally and in the state, around their want for Victor Harbour to have this downsizer stamp duty exemption. I'm happy with different wording, but that might provide, again, apologising for any of that offence, that it was unintended, but also explaining that we've heard the community, we've listened to the community, because I think that's one thing where we can show that, yep, if we've done something and yes, whether, I may say it lines up with some strategic policies that we've been looking at, a lot of the discussions, but, if, again, the community don't want it, I think that's something that we need to be responsive to. So that's just a...
I'm not sure that needs to be part of the recommendation. I think that the administration can take that on board when they write the letter, in terms of highlighting that.
Yeah, I'm happy with
especially
that.
given we don't have
If the seconder and mover are happy with it, though, it's not a bad. I don't think there's anything lost by having it in the motion, though.
You'd like to have it included. So can you give some specific words then, Councillor Mann?
Pretty well done. Advises, apologises for any unintended offence that was caused, and that council recognises and hears the community, both locally and across the state, that they want Victor Harbour to be included within the downsizer stamp duty exemption.
Yep. So for Angela, the proposal is to add to that recommendation that apologising for any unintended offence that was caused, and that council recognises and hears the community, both locally and across the state, that they want Victor Harbour to be included in the stamp duty downsizing exemption. Are you happy for that to be included in the exemption?
I am,
that
yes.
Number 2? Yep. And you're happy for that, Councillor Burns? Yep. So add that variation to the motion. Thank you, Councillor Mann. Are there any further discussion points? Councillor Schiller, do you want to close the debate?
I thank everyone tonight for listening to my point of view on this particular subject. I think the community deserve to have this explained to them, and that this is the right thing to do. Occasionally we slip up. We had our bin issue a few weeks ago where we were hell bent on pulling out a heap of bins, and we changed our decision on that. So it's not uncommon, and it shouldn't be uncommon. If we make a mistake, we should rectify it.
Thank you. I now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. We now move to 18.4 and motion on notice amendment to the we've already done that one. That's been deferred. So we go now to motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? After that, thank goodness. We now move to confidential items. And the first recommendation is that we go into confidence. Council is satisfied that the principle that the meeting be conducted in a place open to the public has been outweighed in the circumstances because the disclosure of details may prejudice Council's position in negotiation. Someone can move that way. Councillor Burns, thank you. And somebody seconding that, please. Councillor Kemp, all those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. And while Lance is dismantling his camera, if anyone wants to take a 5-minute toilet break before we move on to the next recommendation, that would be great.